LA is on fire. Now, a lot of people saying it's to cover up the pedophile trail, and all of a sudden the water ain't working, and hold on, 60% of the water rights is owned by this couple. What's their name?
Shocking revelation from Hollywood. A renowned actor drops a bombshell, claiming the devastating LA wildfires were no accident but a sinister cover-up to destroy evidence of child abuse. Here's what you need to know. The Los Angeles wildfires of January 2025 all started on a winded January evening. You know how sometimes the weather just feels like it's off? That is what people said in Pacific Palisades, an area renowned for breathtaking views and mansions. It was dry in California and it hadn't rained for weeks. The Santa Ana winds were blowing, and they are said to fan a small spark in a huge fire, and that is what happened. A small fire began in some dry brush on the side of the hill. It did not feel that serious at the beginning. Soon the firefighters arrived at the scene, and the people believed that it would be brought under control shortly. However, within several hours, gusting winds aided the fire in moving from one hill to another. The residents of the area were evacuated by sending messages on their mobile phones to move out immediately. Some left homes with whatever was possible to carry. Many did not know if they would ever return to their homes again. The firefighting efforts of the firefighters proceeded, and at the same time, reports of more fires developing in other locations began to come in. Altadena, which is located at the base of the San Gabriel Mountains, was another community that was classified as a relatively small town. Due to the rapid pace at which the fire was spreading, residents were compelled to evacuate entire neighborhoods in what seemed like a matter of minutes. Following that, the unfortunate news that the Hollywood Hills, which are rumored to be home to a large number of famous people and places of significance, are also under danger, was revealed. There were smokes and fires visible as night approached, and the city appeared to be in a very frightening state, especially at night. Even before the fires were put out, the damage was already staggeringly significant. A large tract of land, estimated to be more than 75,000 acres, was destroyed by fire, and a great number of homes were entirely destroyed. After what seemed like the blink of an eye, the entirety of some people's lives was reduced to ashes. There were items that were lost, including photographs, family heirlooms, and other items that could only be replaced with a great deal of difficulty. Shelters for people who had nowhere else to go were crowded with people who were destitute and in need of assistance. It was necessary for around 55,000 people to evacuate the area, while other people were placed on high alert. What is the most depressing aspect? Well, because of the presence of the flames, it was not simply homes and things that were affected. In addition, people passed away, and each death was a heartbreaking reminder of how unpredictable and frightening nature can be. Despite the fact that firefighters put their lives in danger for the sake of others, and some of them even worked around the clock, their bravery was not enough to prevent all of the casualties. There's no doubt that this is one of the first things that comes to mind when one thinks of Los Angeles. It is the location where major events, movie stars, and movie sets take place. Despite the fact that Hollywood is known for its glitz and beauty, even this industry was not spared by these wildfires. A couple of examples to consider are the Hollywood Hills and the Pacific Palisades. Some of the most famous people in the world were born and raised in these areas, and they are regularly used as filming locations for a variety of films and television series. In order to protect themselves from the flames, celebrities such as Billy Crystal and Mandy Moore were required to leave their residences. Just picture yourself in a state of panic, collecting whatever that comes into your line of sight before rushing out of the house in your car, not knowing whether or not your house will still be there when you get back. Some celebrities expressed their concerns and expressed their gratitude to the firefighters on social networks. Others did not say anything, probably because they were too emotional to speak. Some of them were very fortunate, but not all of them. Upon the return of a few celebrities, their homes were completely destroyed, reduced to heaps of ash and wreckage. It makes no difference if the house is the largest or the most luxurious. The fire will not be affected by either of these factors. It did not completely wipe out some individuals, but it was severe enough to make their lives more difficult than they had been before. In spite of the fact that these superstars were extremely well known, the passing of these individuals hammered home the point that life is extremely brief indeed. The wildfires not only adversely affected individuals by causing them to suffer losses, but they also caused the entire entertainment sector to be corrupted. January is a rather fun month in Hollywood because it is the time that awards are given out. This is normally when the Oscars are announced, and this is also the time for the Critics' Choice Awards. But due to the fires, these events had to be canceled. Think about it. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which is an organization that is all about planning and scheduling and having to adjust everything. What a big thing! Just one example of how the fires affected a large number of households is presented below. We are unable to leave out the movie sets in this regard as well. The city of Los Angeles is home to a large number of production studios and locations for filming outside of the city, and many of these locations were in the line of fire. A significant number of directors were compelled to cease their work on their films, which is not only an annoyance, but also an expensive situation. When a movie stops producing movies until the next one begins, it is common practice to terminate the employment of a large number of technicians, including camera operators and outfit designers. The fact that some of the sets were broken or even destroyed was a clear indication that the workers needed to start working on them before moving on to the next step. This was a bad situation for a company that relies on adhering to schedules and achieving specific objectives. Additionally, theme places were significantly impacted. However, due to the fires, Universal Studios Hollywood had to close its doors, despite the fact that it appears to be enjoyed by people all over the world. Every day, a large number of visitors attended the park in order to observe the numerous locations and to observe the back lot, which is where films and television series are filmed. When people's lives are at stake, however, business is of little consequence. In spite of the fact that making the decision to close the park was the correct one, the city appeared to be even more out of control as a result of the decision. As we move forward, let's dive into some of the rumors and speculation that began to swirl in the aftermath of the fires. Could there really be more to this story? Let's find out. Origin of the claims. Eddie Griffin, who is famous for being an actor and a public speaker, got a lot of attention when he said that the wildfires were not a mistake. Griffin said that the fires were planned by wealthy people in Hollywood, whom he called elites. He said that these elites had a specific goal, to get rid of proof that there was a pedophile ring working in the entertainment business. Griffin first said these things on his Instagram and Twitter pages, where he shared posts and videos talking about what he believed. He made the same points in a live stream talk, where he said that people should pay close attention to the famous people who left Los Angeles right before the fire started. Griffin gave the impression that their departures were not random, but rather proof that they were involved in or knew about the supposed cover-up. His claims quickly went viral online, with conspiracy thinkers and people who follow him spreading the word. There were a lot of conversations, hashtags, and shared clips of Griffin's talk on social media sites. Many users praised him for speaking out against what they saw as a secret truth, while others were skeptical and said he didn't have any proof to back up what he said. Griffin's claims were covered by the news, which made people even more divided. Critics said he was sharing false information and fear during a crisis, while supporters saw him as a brave whistleblower who showed the bad side of Hollywood. Most of the news outlets tried to check his claims by saying there wasn't any solid proof and that the investigators had already said that the wildfires were caused by natural and environmental factors. Griffin's comments caused a lot of controversy, which showed how powerful social media can be in shaping stories and changing how people think about things. Even though he was criticized, his comments kept getting spread, which led to arguments and conspiracy theories. Eddie Griffin's accusations were based on the idea that the wildfires were set on purpose to burn down proof that could reveal a Hollywood pedophile ring. Griffin said that the fires were aimed at specific properties or places that had this evidence on them, and that the elites who were accused of crimes planned the disaster to hide any proof of their wrongdoing. Griffin's claims also included the claim that the fires happened at an odd time. It seemed like the celebrities who had left Los Angeles right before the fire started were connected to the supposed cover-up, which is what he told people to pay attention to. Griffin didn't name specific people, but his comments caused a lot of speculation. People on social media looked at the movements of famous people and shared their own ideas. Another component of Griffin's assertions was the condemnation that he levied against Hollywood in its whole. He stated that the entertainment industry was a fertile ground for abuse and exploitation, and that it was protected by a group of influential people who made sure that these crimes were never uncovered. He also stated that the entertainment industry was prone to abuse and exploitation. Griffin's assertions struck a chord with individuals who already had a negative perception of Hollywood. They contributed to the proliferation of conspiracy theories concerning dishonesty and corruption inside the sector. Griffin did not provide any concrete evidence to support the claims that he made. Instead, he spoke in general terms, giving the impression that he was knowledgeable in the subject matter due to his own personal experience and the top-secret information he possessed. Experts, journalists, and reporters were among the individuals who expressed skepticism due to the lack of sufficient proof with which to support their claims. Critics of Griffin's assertions argued that his assertions were not supported by evidence and that they could be detrimental because they could divert attention away from the actual causes of the wildfires and the measures that are being made to put an end to them. The words that Griffin spoke had a significant impact on how others perceived him and how much trust they placed in him. As far as those who backed him were concerned, the accusations validated what they had already believed to be true about the negative aspects of Hollywood. Despite the fact that Griffin did not have any evidence to back up his claim, they believed him when he told them a secret truth. This particular group interpreted what he stated as a rallying cry and encouraged others to challenge the official narrative and hold influential individuals accountable for their actions. Nevertheless, there were too many who believed that Griffin's assertions were both thoughtless and offensive. In the midst of a crisis, the dissemination of incorrect information, according to some individuals, could result in increased levels of panic and bewilderment. In addition, they were concerned that speculations of this nature could make the employment of firefighters, police officers, and other emergency personnel more difficult by causing individuals to have doubts and diverting their attention away from the task at hand. The discussion even made its way into the media, with several websites emphasizing how vital it is to verify information and warning against the perils of disseminating incorrect information. The allegations made by Griffin were disproved by fact-checking organizations and knowledgeable individuals who research wildfires. They stated that the fires were typical for the state of California and that they were caused by dry circumstances, strong winds, and human activity that had nothing to do with a plot or burning. The allegations continued to circulate online despite the fact that there were opposition to them. This was due to the rapidity with which they disseminated on social media platforms, as well as the fact that conspiracy theories tend to flourish when there is uncertainty. Griffin's assertions were a part of a larger narrative that cast doubt on the authorities in Hollywood and the industry as a whole. The narrative capitalized on people's anxieties and suspicion of particular categories of individuals. Background of the claimant. Eddie Griffin is a well-known figure in Hollywood, celebrated for his work as a comedian and actor. Over the years, he has built a reputation for sharp, unfiltered style, tackling social and political issues in his comedy. From roles in movies like Undercover Brother to his regular presence in stand-up comedy, Griffin's outspoken personality has always been a key part of his public image. This boldness extends beyond entertainment. Griffin has never shied away from speaking out on controversial topics, often sharing his opinions on politics, corruption, and what he sees as hidden truths. For his fans, this makes him a fearless truth-teller. For his critics, it raises questions about his reliability and whether his statements are grounded in fact or driven by personal beliefs. Griffin's involvement in conspiracy theories is not new. In the past, he has made claims about government cover-ups, corruption in Hollywood, and global elites controlling major events. While some view this as evidence of his commitment to exposing wrongdoing, others argue it shows a pattern of making bold claims without providing strong evidence to support them. His willingness to tackle controversial topics has earned him both praise and criticism. His supporters admire his courage to confront issues, while many others avoid them, while detractors believe he sometimes prioritizes sensationalism over truth. This dual perspective shaped how people reacted to his claims about the wildfires. While some immediately backed him, while others dismissed his allegations as yet another baseless conspiracy theory. Griffin's history of speaking out makes it easier to understand why his claims gained so much attention. His reputation as someone who isn't afraid to challenge powerful figures lent weight to his statements for those inclined to believe him. At the same time, his pattern of unverified accusations led many to approach his wildfire claims with skepticism. Griffin's claims about the wildfires being a cover-up rested on a few key ideas, but when analyzed closely, they revealed more speculation than substance. Let's unpack the elements of his allegations and compare them with the findings of fire investigators and experts. One of Griffin's main points was that the timing of the fires was suspicious. He suggested that certain celebrities had left Los Angeles just before the wildfires started, implying they might have known something in advance. While this assertion grabbed attention, Griffin didn't provide any concrete details, like the names of these celebrities or specific timelines. Without such evidence, it's impossible to assess whether these departures were linked to the fires or were simply coincidental. Another critical part of Griffin's claims was the idea that the fires were intentionally set to destroy evidence of a Hollywood pedophile ring. He alleged that locations burned during the wildfires contained incriminating materials and that the wildfires were orchestrated by powerful elites to eliminate the evidence. Again, Griffin did not share specific information, such as the locations in question or the nature of the evidence he believed was destroyed. Instead, his statements relied on vague insinuations, leaving them open to interpretation. Fire investigators, however, painted a very different picture of what caused the wildfires. According to reports from the Los Angeles Fire Department, LAFD, and CAL FIRE, the fires were consistent with other major wildfires California has experienced in recent years. A combination of extremely dry conditions, strong Santa Ana winds, and human activity created the perfect environment for the fires to ignite and spread rapidly. Investigators found no evidence to suggest the fires were intentionally set as part of a larger scheme. The behavior of the wildfires also matched well-established patterns seen in similar disasters. High winds carried embers across long distances, igniting new blazes in dry vegetation. This natural process is a common feature of wildfires in California and was observed during the January 2025 fires. Experts found nothing unusual in the burn patterns or the affected areas, further undermining Griffin's claims as false. Moreover, Griffin's suggestion that the fires targeted specific properties to destroy evidence lacks substantiation. Investigators focused on understanding how and where the fire started, as well as their progression, and found no indications that the certain locations were deliberately targeted. The idea that a wildfire, unpredictable and difficult to control, could be used with such precision also raised skepticism among experts. The scale and intensity of the fires made it highly unlikely that they were started with the intention Griffin described. Experts in fire behavior and emergency response emphasized that the wildfires were driven by environmental conditions, not a hidden agenda. They pointed out that the California wildfire season has become more severe in recent years due to climate change, which has led to drier vegetation and more frequent intense fires. These factors, combined with strong winds, created a situation where wildfires were almost inevitable. Griffin's claims, they argued, ignored these well-documented causes in favor of an unproven conspiracy theory. When comparing Griffin's allegations to the findings of experts and investigators, a clear picture emerges. While his statements were bold and attention-grabbing, they lacked the evidence needed to support such serious accusations. The absence of specific details, combined with the natural explanations provided by fire officials, undermines the credibility of his claims. That said, Griffin's allegations highlight a broader issue: the power of conspiracy theories to gain traction during times of crisis. People often search for deeper meanings or hidden causes behind disasters, especially when the events are as devastating as the LA fires were. In this case, Griffin's public profile and willingness to speak out amplified his claims, giving them a platform that few others could achieve. As the debate around Griffin's statement continues, it is essential to approach such claims with critical thinking. The importance of relying on credible sources and evidence cannot be overstated, particularly when accusations have the potential to create fear and mistrust. While it's natural to question the causes of major events, separating fact from fiction is crucial to understanding the truth and responding effectively to crisis. As we move forward, it's important to look at the broader impact on such conspiracy theories, how they spread, why people believe them, and what can be done to address misinformation during challenging times. Let's take a closer look at those aspects next. Spread of conspiracy theory online. The accusations that Eddie Griffin made regarding the flames were magnified by social media in the same way that a megaphone would. Platforms like X and TikTok, where millions of people congregate to exchange news and ideas, became the ideal breeding ground for his allegations to gain traction for the purpose of increasing their visibility. Almost immediately after he made his accusations, hashtags such as #ExposeTheElites and #HollywoodFiresConspiracy was popular on social media. There was an abundance of content that was tied to the conspiracy, including memes, clips from his interviews, and posts that quoted his statements. These platforms' capacity to generate content that went viral was the primary factor that contributed to their success in disseminating Griffin's false messages. It was then that people started expressing their own hypothesis, making connections between things that were not actually present, and uploading photographs and videos to support their beliefs. For instance, several individuals shared pictures of smoke that were located close to the Hollywood sign, alleging that the smoke was evidence of fires that were intentionally targeted at particular regions. In truth, these were visuals that were generated by artificial intelligence and did not accurately depict what was taking place. The graphics, on the other hand, were convincing enough to confuse a large number of people and contributed gasoline to the conspiracy itself. As word of the conspiracy spread, it started to have a role in shaping public opinion. The official reasons for the flames were immediately called into question by the public, and several individuals began to have doubts about the findings of the firemen and investigators. Some people started to be distrustful of the elites in Hollywood because they thought that they might be concealing something. Misinformation eclipsed the efforts of emergency responders and authorities to disseminate factual information, which made it more difficult for them to communicate effectively. This developing mistrust made it more difficult for them to communicate effectively for sure. The quick dissemination of false information regarding the wildfires carried with it actual repercussions. In the first place, it led to a lack of clarity regarding the reasons for the fires and the precautions that individuals were required to take. When information gets widely distributed, it can distract from the work being done by professionals and emergency personnel, making it harder to keep people safe. In addition, fear and fury were exacerbated by misinformation. Some people came to the conclusion that there was a big cover-up going on, which resulted in their irritation with the authorities and the media. This mistrust made it more difficult for authorities to deliver updates and advice since people questioned their legitimacy. This made it more difficult for officials. When there's a crisis, trust is extremely important, and the conspiracy belief caused many people to lose that trust. Those who were immediately impacted by the wildfires experienced a significant emotional toll, which was another issue. There was already incomprehensible amounts of sadness being experienced by families who had lost their homes or their loved ones. The fact that the tragedy was transformed into a topic of conspiracy theories added an additional depth of sorrow to their situation. The idea that the efforts of firefighters or other emergency workers who put their lives in danger to put out the fires were a part of a covert plan was extremely disheartening for those individuals. One of the more widespread issues with social media was brought to light by the wildfire conspiracy. This issue is the rapidity with which the information, incorrect as it was spread and the difficulty in containing it. It is common for the most attention-grabbing information to come to the top of platforms such as X and TikTok, since these platforms are meant to prioritize engagement. This is true even if the content is not real. The result is an atmosphere in which dramatic assertions, such as the charges made by Griffin, have the potential to quickly spread over the internet and obscure information that is more true. A number of fact-checking organizations and official authorities intervened in order to confront the erroneous allegations that were being made as the conspiracy theory gathered momentum. They intended to present answers that were both clear and supported by evidence in order to combat the disinformation and assist the general public in distinguishing between reality and fiction. In a short amount of time, fact-checkers from groups such as Snopes and PolitiFact evaluated the assertions that were circulating online, as well as the statements made by Griffin. They released in-depth articles that provided an explanation of the actual causes of the wildfires, offering evidence from fire investigators and weather forecasts to back up their claims. In addition, these articles disproved certain pieces of false information, such as the photos that were generated by artificial intelligence depicting the Hollywood sign on fire. The fact-checkers were able to demonstrate that these images were phony by comparing them to actual photographs and data from satellites. In addition, the Los Angeles Fire Department, LAFD, and CAL FIRE participated significantly in the fight against the spread of false information. They offered regular updates on the state of the flames and the conclusions of their investigations by holding press conferences, posting information on social media, and conducting interviews. The officers in charge of the fire department stressed that the flames were similar to situations that occurred in the past and were caused by dry circumstances, strong winds, and human activity. They reaffirmed that there was no evidence to back up allegations of arson or a cover-up concerning the incident. In spite of these efforts, finding and correcting disinformation proved to be difficult. When compared to the rate at which true information traveled, the rate at which misleading claims propagated was one of the most significant obstacles. The dissemination of false information frequently takes the form of straightforward, dramatic assertions that are simple to disseminate. On the other hand, fact-checking necessitates a greater amount of explanation and detail, which does not always attract attention in the same manner. Overcoming the mistrust that had already taken root was another barrier that needed to be overcome. According to those who subscribe to the conspiracy hypothesis, official declarations and publications that checked facts were considered to be a component of the concealed information. Because of this, it was difficult to convince them to change their opinions, even when concrete evidence was shown to them. These opinions are further strengthened by the algorithms that are used by social media platforms. These algorithms frequently create echo chambers by displaying content to users that is similar to what they have already engaged with. Reacting to the situation, certain platforms made measures to restrict the dissemination of false information. At the same time as X placed warning labels to postings that contained fraudulent claims, it directed users to information that was verified on the wildfires. TikTok has implemented fact-checking pop-ups on videos that are associated with the conspiracy, with the intent of encouraging users to investigate credible sources. Although the use of these steps served to lessen the prominence of disinformation, they were not able to totally prevent its dissemination. Thanks for watching. What do you think about these shocking claims? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more breaking news and updates. Stay tuned for the truth.